The race to take on U.S. President Joe Biden has been getting more crowded this week, with more and more Republicans announcing they're running for their party's nomination. Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie and former Vice President Mike Pence are two of the latest big names to enter the race. But first, any Republican candidate will likely have to get past Donald Trump, who wants his old job back and who polls say is the clear favorite at this point. Trump, however, is facing mounting legal problems, which could interfere with his campaign. And then there is Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, a rising star among U.S. conservatives who won a resounding re-election victory last year and who has remained in the headlines for his controversial policies, for attacking progressives, and for picking a fight with Disney. DeSantis has already been campaigning in Iowa and New Hampshire, the first states to vote in next year's primary season. He told prospective voters that America is in decline and promised that he would be the one to turn things around. And I can now speak about this growing field of contenders to DW's Washington Bureau Chief, Enos Pohl. Good to see you, Enos. So the Republican field seems to be growing by the day, quite literally. Which candidates do you think stand a chance of actually beating Trump for the nomination?
Right, Nicole, as you just said, despite the fact that former President Trump is looking like the runaway candidate right now, that hasn't stopped really a number of viable Republican candidates to run against him. There is former Vice President Mike Pence, who just announced that he's running. He might have some fair chances. Then there is the Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, whom you just mentioned. He's number two for now. And then there is South Carolina Senator Tim Scott, who I would say we really have to watch closely. So talking about their political stance, they all sit pretty far on the right. They're all looking to steal some of the MAGA voters. MAGAs, Nicole, is standing for Make America Great Again. This is kind of the constituency of former President Trump. Having said all that, there can so much happen until the convention in August, when the Republican Party finally nominates its candidate. And in U.S. politics, this is really a lifetime away. And after all, Donald Trump is also 77 years old, and as an incumbent candidate, he lost not only the White House, but also both the House and the Senate. So that really does raise the question whether he still is able to win elections.
Yeah, I don't know if you agree, but the one who stands out at this point to me is Chris Christie, because so far he's the only one to run on an explicit anti-Trump, anti-MAGA platform. Will that help him get ahead?
It might help him, but, you know, Chris Christie also, is responsible for some huge failures. There is this big scandal about building bridges, which is hanging over him. So I think it would be making more sense to watch Ron DeSantis closely as a possible number two when it comes closer to the convention, when the Republican Party finally is nominating its candidate.
We'll take a closer look at Ron DeSantis in a second, but I do want to get into this before we do so. This growing field of challengers, we're already in the double digits now. Donald Trump benefited from a similar scenario in 2016. So how risky is it to split the anti-Trump vote?
Yeah, that is a very good point, Nicole. There was some hope from the more moderate Republican constituency that not so many candidates would join the field, because Donald Trump has more or less these 30% secured, and the rest is, as you just said, split between the other candidates. But what we probably will see, they will drop out over the course of the next months and give kind of their votes they already gained, their support they already gained, to the then candidate, which is still in the field. But yes, definitely, the more people are fighting against Trump, the better it is for him.
All right, time to talk about Ron DeSantis. A lot of media attention has been focused on the Florida governor. What more can you tell us about him?
Yeah, he's an interesting figure. You know, prior to his governorship, Ron DeSantis was relatively unknown. He's a congressman from northern Florida, born in Jacksonville, and he really became successful with the help and political support of Donald Trump, whom he is now challenging. He was elected to run the state of Florida, and since he entered office, he really made a national brand by diving headfirst into this cultural wars. He's pushing against LGBTQ plus rights. He's he's banning books. He's changing school curriculums, and he's also fighting with us, with journalists who try to challenge his political agenda. All this made him kind of a darling among the MAGA voters. Therefore, we actually just went to Florida to see what he already changed there during his tenure and what it would mean if he would make America Florida. And this is what we brought from this. A teacher posted these empty shelves on Twitter to draw attention to the situation in Florida's school libraries. Under the leadership of Ron DeSantis, Florida has passed laws making it easier to ban books and restrict lessons on race and racism, as well as classroom discussions about gender identity and sexual orientation.
So I took this video because I wanted to put a visualization to what was happening, went outside and posted it, and I came back with over 1 million views in that first day.
Nothing happened to Brian Covey until 2 weeks later, when Ron DeSantis was asked about the video.
That video, that was a fake narrative. That was not true. This is trying to create some narrative as if that they hadn't even put the books out yet to begin with. So there's no need for all of that stuff.
And then all of a sudden, after the governor was asked specifically about my video, it was called a fake narrative and I lost my job.
Among the books banned is Neither.
So this one is a kid's book, and it's just talking about there's a world of this and that. Somebody comes out and says they're both, and they said, no, you're neither. So the book story is about being a neither and trying to fit in. There's nothing explicit in there. It can be relatable to kids on multiple different levels.
We want to know how parents feel about the new law and go to one of the biggest bookstores in town.
They're scared that they don't want to get on the wrong side of the law, so it's having a chilling effect on so many of the teachers. Libraries they're just taking all the books away. They don't want to get in trouble. They don't want to lose their job.
I might move out of state for my son's sake so that he can receive an education that's on par with the rest of the world.
Tia Bess is a member of Florida's LGBTQ community. She is also part of the conservative national movement Moms for Liberty, whose members are known to be involved in removing books from school libraries.
Florida is a major blueprint because other states are watching parents have voices, have rights, have empowerment. I brought the book Genderqueer. Inside this book are images of a young lady giving oral sex to another young lady, and I had to blur these scenes out.
This specific book is recommended for readers of 15 and older. Tia raises 3 kids with her wife. She helps parents throughout the country file complaints and get books banned from school libraries.
Sometimes it's a bit difficult being a conservative gay person, you know, because people don't think it exists, but just let kids be kids.
Since launching his presidential bid in late May, Ron DeSantis has been touring the country outlining his plans should he be voted in.
As president, I recognize that the woke mind virus represents a war on the truth, so we will wage a war on the woke. We will fight the woke in education. We will fight the woke in the corporation.
Another topic on DeSantis' agenda is the limitation of trans rights. He has just signed into law a bill banning puberty blockers for transgender youth. We meet the 11-year-old Dempsey and her parents. Dempsey was born biologically male, but is much happier living as a girl.
I was really sad before I transitioned, and I knew something was different about me. So when my parents finally decided to take me to a toy store, I'd always just go to the girl aisle, and I just always feel so much more happy seeing the pink and all those beautiful colors. And I knew I was different, and I knew in my brain and my heart I'm a girl. all the people arguing and taking away my rights is just not okay for kids like me. And I get really scared to just walk out of my home because I know like there's gonna be that one person that's always gonna be like scared of me, thinking like I'm a monster or something, but I'm not.
To prevent her body from developing into an adult male body, she'll need to take so-called puberty blockers.
And that's going to be tough in Florida because they've made it nearly impossible to get medication. But she has supportive doctors, but the doctors' hands are tied now with medications. So we'll be forced to have to go out of state to get her medicine.
Dempsey and her family will be among the guests at President Biden's upcoming event to celebrate Pride.
What would you tell him?
Keep doing what you're doing and please fight harder for my rights and the other kids like me. Yeah.
Kids like Dempsey currently have the full support of the President of the United States. However, that could change after next year's presidential elections.
What a brave and cool little girl you got to meet there, Ines. And whether it be the Don't Say Gay law or the ban on transition-related care for minors, why is it that Ron DeSantis seems to be targeting the LGBTQ community?
You know, Nicole, one has to understand that winning the support of the evangelical constituency is crucial for any Republican who wants to win the nomination and later the White House. So therefore, the LGBTQ plus community will become an easy target for the party. And especially going after trans kids who just are the weakest and the most vulnerable. But Nicole DeSantis is by far not only targeting members of the LGBTQ community. With the bills he signed into law, schools are allowed to ban classics like The Bluest Eye from Black writer Toni Morrison, for example. I'm sure many of our viewers are familiar with this masterpiece. And why is it banned? Because it deals with racism. Textbooks about the Holocaust or the Black Lives Matter movement are rejected as they are seen as disturbing. And you know what probably worries me most after coming back from our reporting trip is really the fear of teachers losing their job, and therefore they are not using material which could be controversial and clean out the bookshelves in the school libraries. And that means that not only important parts of the US history won't be taught, but also that kids like Dempsey, whom we just got to know a little bit, who do not have the support as she has, won't find books and material in school which could help them on their challenging journey. And maybe I can share this with our viewers, Nicole. There is a longer version of my interview with Dempsey and her parents, Jamie and Dennis, on our DW YouTube channel.
Yeah. Make sure to check that out. We don't have much time, unfortunately. I'd love to keep this going a little longer. But I don't want to let you go without asking you this. Why is what's happening in Florida being watched so closely? Why is this so decisive for the path the country might take?
Well, as Tia Best, the Mom for Liberty, says, and DeSantis himself wrote in his book last year, the conservative movement in the US sees Florida as a blueprint. And we have to leave it to the 44-year-old governor. He knows how to govern. He does get things done. He signed many, many bills into law which are extreme compared to other states, and people watch it, how far he gets with that. And I think it is actually fair to say, even if he doesn't make it, his policy will stay with us here in the United States.
DW Washington Bureau Chief Ines Pohl, thank you so much for your reporting.